Hi guys and welcome back to the Mighty Blues. My name is of course Cameron and welcome back today to another live stream. It is the game review. Chelsea won, Everton won at Stamford Bridge. I'm not quite sure how we managed to pull that one off, if I'm being perfectly honest with you. An absolutely outstanding display by Everton, an outstanding result, an outstanding performance, and one that I don't think any of us expected going into this game. Did we? Obviously, when we saw the team news at 7:15, Rafa Benitez has started with a very, very, very weakened Everton side. The likes of Jarrad Branthwaite starting his first Premier League game of the season. John Joe Kenny in at right wing back. Ben Godfrey at left wing back. Of course, Anthony Gordon was in there. Ellis Simms making his Premier League debut up front. Of course, we had Lewis Dobbin, Tyler Onyango on the bench. Alex Iwobi in there as well. It was a, let's say, less than strong Everton side going up against the Chelsea side that the media have spent the last however many days talking about as a injury-ridden, squad missing an absolutely shite load of players, when in reality it was a very, very good Chelsea side with an awful lot of quality in there, and ultimately a side that is European champions and supposedly challenging for the Premier League title this year. Nobody gave Everton a chance yesterday. Nobody gave Everton a chance. Nobody outside of Everton, and to be fair, I think the majority of Evertonians were quite reluctant to give Everton a chance as well. We all knew it was going to be an extremely, extremely difficult game of football going into it. It was always going to be a massive, massive test for those young players. Really, really big task ahead. The likes of Ellis Simms making his Premier League debut, coming up against Thiago Silva, of course, which again is never, ever, ever an easy task for any Premier League side, never mind making, his Premier League debut. We knew, of course, before the game that the game against Leicester City on Sunday has been postponed. We've just done a little video regarding that, talking about that game being postponed and what that means for Everton. Of course, we now don't play until Boxing Day, which I think is really, really interesting. And yet it was, as I said, it was always going to be a very difficult game of football. Mitchell says, you didn't give Everton a chance, Cam. Don't change the narrative. Take it on the chin. I ain't changing the narrative, mate. You're absolutely spot on. I didn't think we had a chance of getting anything out of this game yesterday. And even that was even before I seen the team news. That was me taking into account that, Damari Gray might be in there and we might have Allen in there next to the corner. Even I sort of sat back on Wednesday night and said I'm not confident going into this one. Everton, of course, were coming off the back of a really disappointing defeat at Crystal Palace. Chelsea themselves hadn't been great, and I did say that in the preview. This is a team that have conceded goals recently and are susceptible to conceding goals, but it was looked an absolutely monumental task. And like I said, when we saw that team news at 7:15, I think we all sort of sat back and went, this could be an absolute, an embarrassment. It could be a ridiculously tough watch. To throw a lot of those young lads in right at the deep end was a massive, massive risk for Rafa Benitez. But as I've sat here over the last 2 months and give Rafa Benitez a lot of stick and a lot of criticism where I think he's deserved it, I can also sit here and give him credit where credit's due. And to be fair to Rafa Benitez yesterday, I think he got the game plan right. I think he got the substitutions right. And I think he got the way of playing right as well. We were never going to be able to turn up and stand toe-to-toe with Chelsea and get anything out of the game that way, because they'd have just walked all over us yesterday. It was always going to be a case of sitting back, putting 11 men behind the ball and just trying to defend. And I've got no problem with that. I've got absolutely no problem with it. I've seen some, neutral fans on Twitter saying, oh, how bad at Everton, look at Everton, awful Everton is. Somebody has been on TalkSport today, some fella called Andy who hasn't got a fucking clue about football, saying Everton were a disgrace, they'll go down, this, that and the other, could have been 6 or 7. Well, that's the point, Andy, you idiot. That's the point in football. When you come up against better teams, you've got to adapt the way in which you play so you don't get beat 6 or 7-0. Sorry that we didn't lose 7-0 and you didn't get your Thursday night entertainment, mate. As I've said before, if you want to be entertained and you're a neutral fan, go and watch fucking BBC One or something. Go and watch the new Spider-Man, which, by the way, I'm going to watch on Sunday and I'm ridiculously excited excited about. Go and watch a film, go and watch, a television soap. Don't come and watch Everton. If you want to be entertained, go and watch something else. We're not here to entertain idiots that want to be entertained and feel like they've got a need for that because they pay for their BT subscription or whatever. We're here to try and get as many points as possible out of games of football and to change the style and change the system and change the tactics in order to give us the best chance of getting points out of that game. So sorry we didn't go toe-to-toe with this Chelsea team and get absolutely thumped 18-0. Sorry that we defended throughout the whole game and, we weren't great to watch. But to be honest with you, I don't give a shit because we've come away with a point that, as I said, and as Mitchell says in the comments, nobody expected us to get. Absolutely nobody expected us to come away with. And it was a massive, massive, massive point as well. Like I said, obviously we know Leicester on Sunday is being postponed, which is interesting. It means we now don't have a game until at least Boxing Day. So we needed to get something out of yesterday, and I don't think anybody had the confidence that we would. I don't think anybody had the expectation that we would. But the performance by those players last night was absolutely brilliant, and specifically the young lads as well. The young lads that stepped up, worked their absolute bollocks off, and turned up for this Everton team. And there was a lot of young lads there. Jarrad Branthwaite, Ellis Simms, Lewis Dobbin, even John Joe Kenny to an extent, who obviously isn't, as young as the others and is a little bit more older and experienced. There was a lot of players there that will have given Rafa Benitez something to think about over the next couple of weeks or so. And I hope that in 3 or 4 weeks' time, when Dominic Calvert-Lewin's up front and Solomon Rondon and Cenk Tosun are both fit, and Dom's, maybe had 60, 70 minutes where he's ran round, he's worked hard, but he needs to come off. I hope that when Rafa Benitez looks to that bench, instead of bringing on a Solomon Rondon who you're just going to get very little from, or a Cenk Tosun who you're going to get very little from, I hope he looks to bring on Lewis Dobbin, because Lewis Dobbin, when he come onto that pitch yesterday, didn't stop running round, didn't stop working hard, didn't stop battling, didn't stop fighting, didn't stop chasing every ball, and you know what, yeah, he didn't really get near many of them. And again, he didn't have the greatest of luck. And, ultimately, it was a lot of running around. And some people will say, yeah, Cam, but there was no end product to it. He wasn't that good. But the reality of the situation is we were playing one of the best teams in the world yesterday. We were playing the European champions. Forget the players they had out injured. Mason Mount started the Champions League final. The majority of that defence played in the Champions League final. The goalkeeper played in the Champions League final. The midfield, Cesar Azpilicueta was there as well. That was maybe not as strong a Chelsea team as we could have come up against, but it was a pretty strong Chelsea side. So yeah, when Lewis Dobbin was running around trying to chase the ball, he couldn't really get near it because this Chelsea team is so good at moving it about and so good at dealing with that pressure. But as I said yesterday in the instant match reaction, most teams in the Premier League, when faced with a young forward who is constantly running at them and constantly putting pressure on them in the 60th, 70th minute, they will make mistakes. Crystal Palace did it yesterday on Sunday. We spoke on Monday about the Crystal Palace game and how Damari Gray, put a bit of pressure on a Crystal Palace defender once, and they volleyed it out of play for a throw-in, and that's the only bit of pressure we put on them all game was that moment. If you've got sides like Crystal Palace and teams like that are in and around mid-table to bottom of the table, and you've got Lewis Dobbin coming on with half an hour to go, running around, getting on defenders' toes, working hard, battling, he's going to cause teams problems. He's going to cause defenders problems. And as I said, again, for me, yesterday he was great when he come on, but you've got to give massive, massive credit to the young lads. You simply have to give massive, massive credit to the young lads. Jarrad Branthwaite was unbelievable last night. Absolutely unbelievable last night. Considering this lad hasn't played a Premier League game since the back end of the season before last. I remember he come in just after was it just after the lockdown? I think it was just after football returned after the suspension of football, and he had to come in because of injuries, and he was brilliant. I remember him playing against Aston Villa at Goodison and he was fantastic, and I remember him playing a couple of other games and he was brilliant as well. Obviously he didn't really get the opportunities under Carlo Ancelotti last season. He went out on loan to Blackburn. From what I've read and heard, his loan was very much hot and cold. Some weeks he was good, some weeks he wasn't too good, and it was ultimately a risk to have him in there last night, but a risk that Rafa Benitez didn't really have a choice to take. His game plan was obviously always going to be to stick 11 men behind the ball and try and grab something out of the game, but for most of it, defend, and don't let Chelsea through. And in order to do that, we had to have played a 5 at the back, and we didn't have 5 fit defenders without Branthwaite. So Jarrad Branthwaite had to go in there, and do you know what? Considering he was coming up against Mason Mount, Hakeem Ziyech, some of the best forward players in world football, I thought he was absolutely outstanding last night. Not just his goal, and we will talk about his goal, the more we go on into the live stream and the more we talk about the game, because his goal was fantastic. I've watched it back about 350 times, by the way. Anthony Gordon's ball is just unbelievable, and it's easy to look at that goal on first glance and say, yeah, he's at the back post and he just sticks his foot out and it goes into the back of the net. But it's such a gamble by Jarrad Branthwaite. He throws himself at it. It's like a karate kick. It's almost like he knows, I'm going to get on the end of this ball. And he done his post-game interview after the game, and he spoke about the pride and the pleasure he has of playing for this football club. But he spoke about the goal in itself, and he was asked, was that something you practice on the training ground? And he said, well, yeah, basically I go over to Anthony Gordon and I said to Anthony, put it in this position every time. And he sort of spoke about envisioning, almost, manifesting that the ball had dropped to him in that area. And you could see the ball come in, and before it even got relatively close to him, he's already making that flying challenge towards the goal. And it's a fantastic finish. But ultimately, as good as it was of a goal, Jarrad Branthwaite isn't there to score goals, so you have to judge him on his defensive play as well. And defensively, I thought he was outstanding, absolutely outstanding. As I said, he's not playing against a mid-table Premier League team or a team towards the lower end of the league that you're looking at going, well, okay, put a good performance in, but they're not very good. Chelsea weren't great last night, but he still had to defend against some of the best attacking players in world football, and he done it with ease. He done it comfortably. Broke a couple of times into the midfield with ease and moved the ball forward. Every time the ball come into him in the air, he dealt with it on the floor. He was good with his feet. He was cool, calm, collected, and he's a presence, Jarrad Branthwaite. He's big. He's 6'2", 6'3", tall, physical player. He's got all of the attributes to be a top Premier League footballer. And as I said yesterday, and this isn't reactionary by any sense of the imagination, and you may think it is reactionary, but as I said yesterday, if I'm Rafa Benitez now, and I'm looking at the Everton squad over the next couple of weeks or so, and I'm looking at, Yerry Mina being out injured and needing to rotate the squad, I would have no problem with Jarrad Branthwaite starting Premier League games of football. Absolutely no problem. I'm not saying he's the finished article. I'm not saying he's the next coming of Paolo Maldini. He's still got things to improve on. Of course he has. He's still got area of his game that he needs to do better. But yesterday, to keep a cool, calm, collected head against such an experienced and quality Chelsea team is brilliant for me. Show the level of maturity, show the level of quality there from him. And as I said in the instant match reaction last night, there was something that the commentators kept on saying, something that the commentators kept on bringing up during last night's game, and it was about the young players, and it was you kept saying, listen, although Evertonians might be a little bit pessimistic or a little bit nervous that these young lads are starting and getting an opportunity, the players themselves will be thriving off it. The players themselves will be absolutely loving it. They'll be made up to be playing this game, and he said it a couple of times, and I remember thinking, no, do you know what, you're right, we might all be sitting here as a fan base thinking, bloody hell, this could be a risk here, but those young lads, your Jarrad Branthwaite, your Ellis Simms, your Lewis Dobbin when he come on, even Anthony Gordon, who's played a lot of Premier League football this season, they'd have been thriving off of having that opportunity. I don't think any of them put a foot wrong. I really, really don't. As I said, Ellis Simms, considering I've seen some people giving him stick on Twitter, he's a League One player, this, that and the other. Ellis Simms has just made his Premier League debut against Thiago Silva, multi-time Champions League winner, multi-time French League winner, World Cup semi-finalist, finalist, wherever he's been in the World Cup, Copa American winning, I believe, centre-half, one of the best centre-halves to ever play the game, Thiago Silva, and young 19-year-old Ellis Simms has just made his debut against him. And do you know what? I thought he played really, really well. Did he have a plethora of chances on goal? No. Was he massively creative? No. Did he have any creative output to latch on the end of? No. We've just spoken about Luca Dean in a video that we've just uploaded on the channel about half an hour ago regarding his future. Everton have agreed a deal in principle today for a young Ukrainian left-back, 22-year-old Vitaly Mikalenko. I'm sorry if I've butchered that, by the way. So Luca Dean's future appears to be up in the air. Personally, for me, Everton spending £20 million on a left-back in January says to me that Luca Dean won't be an Everton player for much longer. So not having that, that quality in there and that creativity on the wings. John Joe Kenny, for as good as he done, and to be honest, I did think John Joe Kenny played really well yesterday. He was never going to get forward and throw balls into the box. Alex Iwobi wasn't very good either, let's be perfectly honest with ourselves. So Ellis Simms had a really, really difficult task ahead of him, and I thought he'd done well. His hold-up play was brilliant, by the way. There was a couple of times the ball got lumped up to him, and he took it down with his chest, and he played it off, or he won a head. He won a couple of headers against Thiago Silva, and you're sort of thinking, you've got a bit about him. Yes, again, not saying he's the finished article. I'm not sitting here saying he should start games of football, but Ellis Simms, for me, showed enough in that 50-60 minute spell for me to determine that he deserves opportunities off the bench if Everton are in desperate need, i.e. losing 1-0 to Brentford, i.e. losing to Crystal Palace 2-1. I'm looking at the bench then and thinking, well, Rondon has played on a plethora of time, on multiple occasions this season and not really done anything. Okay, he scored against Palace, but other than that, not done anything. Cenk Tosun hasn't done anything for 2 years, 18 months to 2 years. Why not give Ellis Simms a go? He's proven he can hold the ball up against one of the best teams in Europe. He's proven he can take it down and play it. Yes, he hasn't proven himself in front of goal, but he didn't get the opportunity to yesterday. Wasn't like he missed 3 or 4 sitters. He didn't get the chance. Nothing fell to him. Everton had very few chances last night to score goals and to create opportunities. So for me, as I said, I think Ellis Simms, painted himself in real glory yesterday. A couple of really nice flicks as well. He looked intelligent, he looked confident. Lewis Dobbin, when he come on to replace him, as I said before, running around, chasing people down, forcing Chelsea into having to make quick decisions. Endless energy, endless pace. Yes, on the ball, he could do a little bit better. He had one chance where he got the ball caught in between his legs, but he's still, 18 years old, 19 years old, something like that. He's got a ridiculous amount of time to improve, but you could see how much he was enjoying that yesterday. And then I think some of the more experienced players were stepped up as well. I thought Michael Keane performed really well. Again, I've been a critic of Michael Keane this season and in previous seasons, but credit where credit's due, absolutely. I thought Michael Keane stepped up, worked hard, put himself about. I thought he did well. I thought Ben Godfrey, other than goal, which is direct fault of Ben Godfrey, to be fair, I thought other than that he was really, really good at left wing back. Got forward a couple of times, made a couple of really good, runs and found himself on the edge of Chelsea's box with no real help to do anything. But he was there, he was making the runs, he was trying to create chances, he was trying to get forward. I thought Jordan Pickford was absolutely world class. Jordan Pickford silenced any doubter yesterday. Anybody that wants to even try and have a discussion about Jordan Pickford not being England's #1 goalkeeper hasn't got a clue about football, because he showed last night exactly why he is. He's been consistently good for months and months and months now, and it's about time I think the rest of the world start to appreciate and understand that and get this stupid idea that Jordan Pickford makes mistakes every week and he's a calamity and this, that and the other. Get that out your head, because that's not this Jordan Pickford. Calm, cool, collected, always kept his head, made a couple of really big saves, one to deny Mason Mount, one to deny Thiago Silva in the second half. Really solid performance, the type of performance that you would expect from a world-class goalkeeper like Jordan. Again, he saved us on a couple of occasions, and it was a real battling performance. I likened it to the performance at Old Trafford against Manchester United, where it felt like this Everton team and this Everton squad had almost come together before the game and sort of said, right, we're going to have to work much harder than these to get something out of this game. We're going to have to give much more than these are to get something out of it. And yes, it was a very defensive formation and a defensive tactic by Rafa Benitez. But as I said, I've given Benitez stick before, and I still, this doesn't fix anything. I still don't particularly think he should be in the job, but he got it right last night. He got it right. He got the tactic right. It would have been ridiculous of Rafa Benitez to set Everton up to go toe-to-toe with this Chelsea team, setting us up to defend, get 11 men behind the ball and try and hit them on the break when we can, was exactly what we needed. And that's how we set up, and that was perfect. It was perfect. Defensively in the first half, we were a little bit, we were poor, let's be honest. Mason Holgate was giving the ball away in silly areas. Andre Gomez was giving it away in silly areas. We were conceding too many chances. And Chelsea weren't on their day. And maybe on another day, Chelsea would have put a couple of them away and it would have been game over fairly quickly. The Reece James chance, you would put your life savings on him scoring 9 times out of 10, especially with the form he's been in this season. He missed Mason Mount's chance, which was saved by Jordan Pickford, was a big chance. So, yes, we got a little bit lucky. I understand that. But the second half, we limited them to very, very few opportunities. They had the goal, of course, which we know, and we'll go on to talk about a little bit more later on. And Thiago Silva had the header, which was again a brilliant save by Jordan Pickford. And other than that, they had a couple of half chances here and there, but nothing too worrying for Everton, nothing too concerning for Everton, nothing you looked at and almost sort of thought, oh, hang on, again, we're letting it slide again. It seemed like the second half, we just tightened everything up defensively, and we were much, much better. We were stopping them silly mistakes, and that was important because, say it week in, week out, teams like Chelsea, teams like Liverpool, teams like Manchester City, they don't need you to make mistakes. These teams don't need Everton to turn up and gift them goals. They're more than good enough to score goals and create chances on their own. They don't need Everton to help them out in doing that. And we've been guilty of doing that far too many times in recent years, going to these really good sides and not making them work. I've seen Manchester City beat Everton 5-0 in the last game of last season, and he didn't have to work for it. He didn't have to get out of second gear, and that was because 4 of the 5 goals were gifted to them through Everton mistakes. Again, you could sort of see us falling into that situation yesterday in the first half, making silly mistakes, giving the ball away in stupid areas. Their goal come from an Everton mistake. But we tightened that up and we got to grips with that very, very quickly. If you are enjoying, by the way, please hit that like button. It does only take a second. 27 people watching. If we could get that likes up, that would be absolutely brilliant. If you could share the stream as well, that would be fantastic. If you could try and get as many people in here as possible, that would be absolutely brilliant. Get your thoughts in the live comments if you are watching live, and we'll get involved with as many of them as we possibly can. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe. That would only take a second. If you're watching as a YouTube video, leave your thoughts down below. We have uploaded 2 other videos today, by the way. We've just uploaded a video talking about the Leicester game and the postponement of that one. Just a little 10-minute video giving my thoughts on the current situation with the Premier League and obviously the game against Leicester being postponed. And we've also uploaded another video talking about the latest transfer rumours. We talk about Vitaly Mykolenko in that video. We also talk about Luca Dean's future and what Everton signing a left back for £20 million means for Luca Dean's future. So if you haven't checked them out, don't check them out just yet. Wait until the season's finished and then go and check them out. Mitchell says, no hostility. I was just saying we all laugh when we see what that team... We did. As I said, if there's one Everton fan on the planet that saw that team at 6:45 last night and thought, we'll get something out of this, you're either extremely positive and, have a lot of belief in Everton, or you're lying. Because I think the majority of us, when looking at that team yesterday, thought, we're going to get nothing out of this game. And credit to the players and credit to the manager for his decision making. We got something out of that game. And you know why we got something out of that game? Do you know what's mad? And it's a mystery and it blows your mind. When you work hard and you want to get something out of a game more than the opposition does, and you battle and you fight and you show that, intensity and you show that commitment and that desire, more often than not in the Premier League, you will pick up points. It's as simple as that. It's not a hard, puzzle to complete. It's not a hard code to crack. Work hard, battle, fight, show that desire. Don't give up. Pick your heads up and go again. Do the basics well. Concentrate. Don't make stupid mistakes. That's exactly what we did yesterday, and we got a really good point out of it. Eugene says, my Everton man of the match yesterday was Jordan Pickford. Yeah, me too. Give him a 10 out of 10 on the player ratings, and I will argue until the cows come home that he didn't put a foot wrong yesterday or a glove wrong. Keep it up, says Jules. Do you think Everton need a forward? Yeah, probably, to be honest with you. But again, listen, there's other areas on the pitch I think ahead of striker that we need to address. Right back is clearly one of them. Left back obviously is being addressed, which I can only assume means Luca Dean is leaving. I think we need another centre midfielder, somebody of the same sort of stature and style as Abdoulaye Doucouré. Maybe Tyler Onyango will be that player, who knows. Hopefully he'll get a fair enough chance to show that. And I think we need a right winger as well, all before we look at getting a forward. I think a right winger is probably second on the list for me. after right back, because I just, as good as Andros Townsend is as a squad player, he shouldn't be starting every week for Everton. But yeah, there you go. Everton Blues says, if someone offered you 1 million quid to sing and dance to Liverpool songs and wear their kit, would you? Not a chance, mate. Not a chance. You could offer me 100 million quid and I wouldn't do it. Lee says, bro, up the Mighty Blues, good result, bro. Thank you very much, Lee. Really appreciate that, my mate. Joel says, I thought Dom was better than Simms yesterday. I think they're two different players. I think they're two very much different players. And I think they worked in the way that Rafa Benitez utilised them. I think Ellis Simms worked in the opening half and first 50, 60 minutes when we weren't seeing much of the ball, but when it was going up, he was taking it down. I don't think Lewis Dobbin could have controlled the ball and taken the ball down like Ellis Simms did on a number of occasions yesterday. Hold it up with his feet, flick it out, use his head, win those aerial battles. I don't think Lewis Dobbin could have done that. But equally, I don't think Ellis Simms could have come on with half an hour to go and ran at the Chelsea defence and forced them into making mistakes and give them something to think about. So I think they were both utilised in the correct manner by Rafa Benitez yesterday. But Lewis Dobbin was great when he come on. And even just that energy, that desire, that commitment to try and make something happen. You can see Lewis Dobbin was desperate to try and get an opportunity on goal yesterday. That's what you need. You need players that are going to go on that pitch and think, I'm desperate to make an impact here. Not players that are going to walk on and go, I'm just going to walk around and hide for the next half an hour and hope that I don't have to do anything and that I escape criticism. No, you don't. You need that fearlessness, that ruthlessness, that pure emotion and desire that the young lads bring. The young lads bring a fearlessness of, you know, almost not really caring about what could go wrong. They're just thinking about what could go right. And that works in this league, in my opinion. Tuesday says, hi Cam, what a result, never expected it. Yeah, same, mate. Jake says, Dobbin seems to work a lot harder than Simms. I don't think he particularly worked harder. I just think, as I said, I think he's quicker. I think he's got more pace, and he may be a little bit fitter in that sense. They're two different types of players, in my opinion. But I can see why it would look like maybe Lewis Dobbin was working a little bit harder. Hernandez, who is a member, thank you very much for being a member, by the way. By the way, thank you all so much to those that have joined the membership club. Since we've done the live stream on Wednesday, it's Friday today, isn't it? I'm getting confused. The days are up in the air. It's Christmas time. It could be Sunday today. It could be Wednesday. It could be Friday. I don't know. But since we've done the last live stream where we introduced the memberships and we talked about it, I think we've had another 5 or 6 members. So thank you all so much. If you're new to the channel and you have become a member since the last stream, thank you very much. If you are in the live comments or watching live, please let me know so I can shout you out and thank you personally. If you want to become a member, like I said, it's 99p, which is the cheapest I can make it, and it's just a little financial support for the channel. I'm not going to sit here and ask or beg for it, but it would mean a great deal to me. So big thanks to Hernandez and everybody else for becoming a member, and big thanks to everybody who's not a member, who's just watching, getting involved, liking, subscribing, commenting. Obviously, I massively appreciate all of that support as well. But Hernandez says, on a serious note, we have to find a way to get rid of Alex Iwobi. Even with the youngsters on the pitch, he was still by far the worst player. I think Alex Iwobi is really suffering from a confidence crisis at the moment. I would call it a confidence crisis, to be honest with you, because he looks like he would want to be anywhere else other than on the pitch for Everton. There was a clip that I seen on social media yesterday, last night, of him walking off the pitch, and you can see him, he doesn't look happy, he looks sad. Yeah, I think Seamus Coleman goes over and puts his arm around him, and it almost, again, I didn't look at it and think, you're fucking shite, you. I looked at it and thought, I almost feel sorry for you, because you're very clearly not confident, or something's not going right. And listen, we know Alex Iwobi isn't good enough to play for Everton. We know that. Yesterday he had a big opportunity where he had the ball. Abdoulaye Doucouré was in about 400 yards of space. He was onside, he was on his own, and instead, you know, Alex Iwobi turned and started to pass it to the right-hand side. His decision-making is woeful. It is woeful, but as I said, I'm beyond the point of sitting here and giving him it left, right and centre, because we know he's not good enough. We've known he's not good enough for a while, and the manager should know he's not good enough either. For whatever reason, he's not good enough. So when he plays and he performs badly, I'm not sort of not expecting that. So I find it difficult to sit here and go, left, right and centre about how bad he is, because I expect him to be that way. So I almost sort of feel sorry for him. But the money we spent on him, you are right, we need to find a way to try and make some of that back. Wayne says, hey everybody, hi my mate, hope you're doing well. Eugene says, Everton poised to sign Ukrainian left back. Well, the deal has been agreed in principle according to The Athletic and Fabrizio Romano. EFC Graphic says, Rafa, a few weeks ago, just because they're young, it doesn't mean they're good. All those kids proved the point yesterday. They did. They absolutely did. They proved that they need to be in Rafa Benitez's plans going forward. You're spot on, mate. Great to see the youth out there, regardless of the result, says Wayne. Well, the result was fantastic. So great to see the youth out there, and the result was brilliant, in my opinion. EFC Essen says, what are your thoughts on Michaelenko, and what does it mean for Nkunku? From what I've seen, which is very much just YouTube clips and the odd occasional spell here and there. I can't lie, I don't watch Dynamo Kiev week in, week out, so I haven't watched them week in, week out in the Ukrainian league. I did remember seeing him in the Euros against England, if I'm not mistaken, and he seemed to perform relatively well in that game. But he looks like a really good young left-back, 22 years old, seems fearless, getting down that left-hand side. The modern-day attacking left-back, I suppose you would say. It'll be interesting to see how he settles into the Premier League. And it's a massive risk, ultimately. A massive risk to replace an experienced Luca Dean, who is a good Premier League left-back. Going forward, he's unbelievable. Defensively, he's decent. With a inexperienced young left-back who could turn out to be absolutely unbelievable, but could turn out to not, maybe not quite settle into the Premier League. Who knows? Hopefully it's the first, because he's signed for the club, and it looks like Luca Dean will be on his way out, so hopefully he's absolutely amazing. But let's wait and see how it goes. But I'm happy with the signing. He's young. He's one for the future. If Luca Dean wasn't leaving, I'd be thinking, why are we spending 20 million on a left back when we desperately need the right back? But let's be honest, it seems like Luca Dean is leaving, and that's why the club have made that decision. In terms of Nkunku, I suppose the club will take a look at him at the end of the season, look at his loan spell, how he's progressed, and a decision will be made then, I assume. Joseph says, Rafa Benitez out. Everton Blues says, we must not forget about the Arsenal game. We won that one, then lost to Palace. Do you think there is a pressure on the youngsters to shine in the next game against Burnley? I don't know if the youngsters will particularly start against Burnley, to be honest with you. I suppose when you look at it, it depends, doesn't it? It depends. We may well see Branthwaite, but who knows where Yerry Mina will be up to by then. Hopefully Dominic Calvert-Lewin will be back, which means we probably won't see Ellis Simms. Alan will be back on the team, Seamus Coleman. So I'm not too sure that they'll start. Do they deserve to? They certainly deserve to have some part in the game. Of course they do, because they were brilliant. But it will be interesting to see what Rafa Benitez does. Wayne says, calm lad, what's happening? Fans make me feel like a superstar, says Gordon. I love Gordon, he's boss. Adita says, hi bro, what's happening? That Kiev bloke is top quality, says Everton Blues, let's hope so. Adita says, when do you think Everton can win the next league title? In a long, long time. We are a long, long way away from that. Wayne says, Luca Dean is going by the looks of things, yeah. It seems that way. He also says, if they get 40 or more for Dean and we can sign players in January, Lord knows we need players in. Yeah, well, I said that in the video we've just done about the Luca Dean situation. I said context is key. Ultimately, we don't know the situation that's gone on behind the scenes. We can guess and we can assume from the narrative that's being put out there, but we don't know for sure what the situation is. And we don't know how much money we're going to get for him either. So, listen, I'm sad to see Luca Dean go because I love him. I think he's boss, but what can we do? And Adisa says, what do you think about getting Ten Hag, Overmars and Van der Sar combination from Ajax? I don't think that would be a possibility. I think it could work, but it depends on... Listen, I don't think Rafa Benitez is going anywhere, personally. I don't think Rafa Benitez is going anywhere. But that's just my opinion. If you are enjoying, by the way, please hit that like button. It does only take a second. If you're new, don't forget to subscribe. We'll get back in the live comments very, very shortly. Once again, massive thanks to everybody for getting involved. But let's have a little talk about the game. So as I said, Rafa Benitez sets up with a side that I think the majority of us were A, shocked to see, but also B, probably a little bit worried. Chelsea's side was ridiculously strong as expected. The likes of Reece James in there. They had Aspilicueta in there. Of course, they had Mason Mount. They had Hakim Ziyech. All really, really, really good players that were always going to cause Everton. Thiago Silva, Mendy in goal, always going to cause Everton problems. Last night, and you could tell from the start that Everton were adopting the 5 at the back formation. Ben Godfrey playing left wing back, John Joe Kenny playing right wing back, Mason Holgate right side of a centre back 3 with Jarrad Branthwaite on the left and Michael Keane through the centre. Andre Gomez was in the centre of midfield next to Abdoulaye Doucouré, and the 3 up top were Ellis Simms, Anthony Gordon and Alex Iwobi. And from the off, as expected, Chelsea had the ball. I think we had something like 17% possession in the first half. Chelsea were controlling the play. They were dictating the play. and they were getting forward at will. They had their first chance early on when a ball was played in through Jorginho, I think. Pardon me. And Reece James got on the end of it, and I'm not going to lie, I remember sitting there in my house thinking, that's a goal, that's 1-0, and this is game over. He tried to curl it round Jordan Pickford, that ended up going out. Maybe a sign of things to come. But again, it was the first sort of warning spell of you can't allow this Chelsea team to get in behind, because 9 times out of 10, you would have put your money on Reece James scoring that. He scored however many goals from that exact same situation this season in the Premier League. So it was, from his standards, it was a pretty sort of poor effort from his standards. And again, we continue inviting pressure onto ourselves. Mason Holgate and Andre Gomez, I thought, in that first half were particularly poor, giving the ball away in silly areas, inviting pressure, causing problems that we really, really didn't need to cause ourselves. As I've just said before, I'm sick of Everton coming up against these sides, the best teams in the league, the best teams in the world, and gifting them opportunities. These teams don't need to be gifted opportunities. And we were seeing in that first half in spells that side of Everton that, is ultimately the side that loses us games like this. And that is that when we're coming up against teams where we're not going to have much of the ball, when we're coming up against teams where we're not going to have much possession, instead of every time we get the ball, keeping hold of it and, slowing the game down and trying to take the game to our pace and frustrating the opposition, we give it away straight away. So Chelsea will have hold of the ball for 10 minutes consistently. We'll get it back. And instead of holding it up and just calming it down and taking the game at our pace and our level, we just give it straight back to them and invite the pressure on again. And we done that on a couple of occasions in the first half yesterday, whether it be Gomez, whether it be Decore give it away a couple of times, whether it be Mason Holgate, just silly little things that were inviting pressure. Chelsea again come forward, ball is passed through to Hakim Ziyech, he completely sells Mason Holgate with the dummy, gets on the left hand side, puts a cross in the box, and I think it's Pulisic has a flick and Jordan Pickford makes another easy save. But again, they're knocking on the door. It almost felt like is this an inevitable, they're going to score at some point. Defensively, we were doing okay, but again, as I said, we were letting them through. Our structure, I think, was good. We were seeing a little bit of the ball, and when we looked compact, we looked controlled. It looked like there was a plan, which is something that I haven't been able to say about Rafa Benitez's Everton sides for a while. It looked like there was an actual plan in place. It looked like there was a system. It looked like there was a structure. It looked like the players understood that system and that structure. Chelsea then had the best chance of the first half when Mason Mount was played through. I think it was by Rudiger. He gets one-on-one with Jordan Pickford, and Jordan Pickford pulls out maybe the best save he has pulled out for a long time. An unbelievable save with his foot to deny Mason Mount. And that's when you started to feel like, right, okay, we need to stop this now. We need to stop giving these chances away. At this point, Jarrad Branthwaite had a couple of involvements in the game, and he looked really sharp, moving the ball out, using his feet well. He looked confident. He wasn't giving the ball away. As I said, the worst players on the pitch at this team in an Everton shirt, at this point in an Everton shirt, were Andre Gomez, Mason Holgate, and Alex Iwobi, who were 3 of the experienced players. John Joe Kenny looked good. He was, again, getting in the back of players, forcing players into, going backwards and frustrating the Chelsea team. The front 3 weren't massively involved. We had a couple of half chances. We had the one at 0-0 with Alex Iwobi, as I said, who gets played a brilliant ball through to him, and Abdoulaye Doucouré standing in absolute miles of space, and instead of just playing an easy ball into him, he tries to go on the inside and go into John Joe Kenny. I don't know why he doesn't play that ball, if I'm being perfectly honest with you. I just simply don't understand what the thought process of Alex Iwobi was to not play that pass to Abdoulaye Doucouré. But anyway, he doesn't play it, and the chance is ultimately wasted. But yeah, as I said, Chelsea are continuing to knock on the door. They have that chance with Mason Mount. It's saved by Jordan Pickford. And Everton, structure-wise are looking okay. Yes, Chelsea have got all of the ball and they're coming forward and they're creating chances and they're throwing everything at us. But structurally, we looked relatively decent. We looked, as I said, like we had a plan. We looked, as I said, like we knew the structure. Like there was some, there was some, I suppose, plan behind what was going on. And we managed to get to half-time, 0-0. You know, Jordan Pickford had been called into action a couple of times and made a couple of really big saves. The defence, at this point, were looking a little bit ropey, a little bit, you know, sort of inviting pressure, inviting chances. And Chelsea, I think, were starting to get really frustrated towards half-time because they were looking at it and thinking, this is becoming increasingly more difficult to break this Everton team down. Midfield was, I think, completely non-existent in the first half, both Gomez and Doucouré. Ellis Simms had obviously started, Premier League debut for Ellis Simms. Thought he'd done well, personally. Thought I had absolutely no problem with Ellis Simms whatsoever. You know, he held the ball up well, as I've just mentioned. Yes, he wasn't massively involved in front of goal. Yes, he didn't create a ridiculous amount of chances. Yes, he wasn't scoring goals or, you know, putting crosses into the box. But we have to appreciate, you know, the amount of the ball that Everton actually saw in that first half, and it was very, very little. You know, and Ellis Simms had very few chances to get a hold of the ball and to get, you know, control of it. And on the times that he did, it was almost lumped up to him, and it was feeding off of scraps. And we've seen in recent weeks and months how hard it is for players to feed off scraps. Even the likes of Richarlison and, you know, Andros Townsend, Damari Gray, top Premier League players struggle when we've got very little possession and the ball's just getting lumped up to them. And you know, we could see that Ellis Simms was struggling in that situation as well. But there was a couple of times when he won really important headers in the air, you know, against Thiago Silva. There was a couple of times when he took the ball down well with his chest and he played it off. A couple of nice little fancy flicks in and out as well. I was really, really impressed with Ellis Simms yesterday, and it surprised me at half-time to go on Twitter and to see some Evertonians, you know, saying, oh, he's League One quality and he's had an awful game, this, that and the other. Look, don't get me wrong, I'm not sitting here saying he's unbelievable and he should start every week and he was amazing. But I don't think he had a bad game by any sense of the imagination. I don't. And I thought for what he had, he done well. Thought he held the ball up well. Thought he worked hard. Haji says, guys, is this a video or a live? It's a live, mate. I will get in the live comments in a moment. I thought he held the ball up well. Thought he worked hard. Thought he took it down. Thought he played it off nicely. And I thought he'd done what he needed to do. He wasn't massively involved, but that's because we weren't massively involved going forward. Anthony Gordon worked his bollocks off, but wasn't massively involved in that first half. Alex Iwobi, again, wasn't involved at all. He could have been involved, but he wasn't involved at all. And we go in at half-time, and I remember thinking, I'll take that. I'll take that all day long, because there was a couple of chances in that first half for where you do look at it and you think, and I get people saying, we weren't that good, we got bad. I get all of that. The nonsense that fella on TalkSport come out with, by the way, is utter shite. Everton should have lost 6 or 7-0. You know, they're going to go down, this, that and the other. You're talking bollocks, mate. Sorry that we didn't turn up to entertain you. I've said this before and I'll say it again. Said it before, but for anybody that's new onto the stream, if you're a neutral fan and you want to be entertained and you're not happy with Everton playing a certain way in order to get something out of the game, don't watch Everton. Go and watch a film. Go and watch fucking The In-Betweeners. Go and watch BBC4. Go and watch the cricket. Go and watch something else. Because I, as an Evertonian, don't give a fuck if you want to be entertained. I don't care if you tune into Everton to see us get battered 6 or 7-0. I'm not arsed. I couldn't give a shit. If you want to be entertained, go and watch the entertainment channels. We weren't there to turn up last night and entertain the neutral fan. We were there with a heavily weakened squad, a much more weakened squad than what Chelsea have got, by the way, even though that's all the media are talking about today, Chelsea's weakened team. A much more weakened team than Chelsea had against a team that are European champions and Premier League challengers. If we'd have turned up and gone toe-to-toe with them and tried to out-football them, they'd have beaten us 6 or 7-0. But why would we do that? Why would we do that when we can sit back, defend, put 11 men behind the ball, hit them on the break and get a point with a side that consists of 4 or 5 young players who have got little to no Premier League experience whatsoever? Sorry that we didn't entertain you on your Thursday night while you're sitting there with your tea. Do me a favour, mate, and get out. If you want to be entertained, go and watch something else. Loads of films out there, loads of boss films. New Spider-Man's out, it's meant to be absolutely boss. I'm going to see it on Sunday. I'll buy you a ticket, mate. You can come and sit next to me. We'll get entertained together watching Spider-Man. But if you're wanting to be entertained watching Everton, stop being such an entitled idiot and thinking that these, you know, teams like Everton who come up against teams like Chelsea should, you know, have to get beat 6 or 7-0 for your entertainment. Do me a favour, mate, and piss off. You're talking absolute shite. We turned up, and Rafa Benitez have given him a lot of stick recently, and rightly so, I feel. But I'll give him credit where credit's due, and he deserves credit for last night because he turned up with a game plan, and that game plan was right. Going toe-to-toe with Chelsea would have seen us sitting here today talking about a heavy defeat. The game plan was stick 11 men behind the ball, defend, and if you can hit them on the break, hit them on the break. Work hard, battle, work harder than they do, want it more than they do, show more desire, show more fight, and we were always going to have 3% possession. They were always going to have 250 more chances than we had. But to be honest with you, I don't give a shit. I couldn't care less because all that matters at the end of the day is what that scoreboard says at the end of the game. And we were so desperate for a point yesterday. I was so desperate for anything out of that game because we needed it. We're not there to turn up and entertain an Arsenal fan or a fucking Newcastle fan or a Fulham fan. Do me a favour and see you later, mate. We're there to get what we can get out of the game for Everton. And to get a point out of that game feels like a win. And some other fans will go, look at them celebrating a draw like a win. That feels like I've witnessed Everton win games of football that don't feel as good as that did yesterday. That feels like a massive win because of the circumstances we were in. So, as I said, anyone that doesn't feel like we were good because we didn't entertain them and you're not a Blue, do me a favour and see you later, mate. You're an idiot. And I'd love to talk to that fellow who's on TalkSport, by the way, and I put it exactly how it is. But yeah, as I said, I felt in the first half at half time. Sorry about that little rant, by the way. Peter says, calm down, calm down. Sorry about that. I've just thought about that video and it's done me head in a little bit. But I apologise about that rant. Maybe got a little bit heated there. But no, I remember thinking at half time, yes, arguably we might be a little bit lucky to still be in this. Jordan Pickford had pulled off, one absolutely unbelievable save. The defence has got away with a couple of mistakes through Chelsea's, not quite being as good as maybe they usually are. But we've gotten to half-time and it's 0-0. The longer we can keep this at 0-0, the more we'll frustrate them and the more likely we are, obviously, to get a point out of the game or to get something out of the game. But my biggest worry at that point was that we were giving chances away. We were making silly mistakes. We were giving the ball away in silly areas. And we were causing our self issues. We were causing our self problems. We were causing ourself, we were causing ourselves, problems with Chelsea creating chances. They weren't just, they did create chances off their own back. Of course, they did. They're a wonderful footballing team, but we were gifting them chances as well at times, which is which was unnecessary for me. So it was imperative in that second half that not only we come out and worked as hard as we did in the first half, but we cut out giving the ball away in silly areas and gifting those, Chelsea the chances. And that's exactly what we did. We come out in the second half. Mason Holgate was much, much better than he was in the first half. Everything was just simplified. Didn't try and do anything silly. Got rid of every ball that, we needed to. If he could pick the ball up and pass it, he would, but he didn't do anything stupid. Michael Keane looked much more solid. Andre Gomez looked relatively decent. Obviously, John-Frederik Aubameyang come on just as we conceded, but Andre Gomez looked a little bit more in control. Doucouré was getting forward a little bit more, causing a bit more of a threat, as was Ben Godfrey. Anthony Gordon, we grew into the game a lot more in the second half. Ellis Simms started to see a little bit more of the ball. Obviously, went off for Lewis Dobbin, and when Lewis Dobbin come on, we grew into the game an awful lot more. We grew in confidence, and you could see this Everton team was starting to think, not just we can get a point out of this game, we could get 3 points out of this game if we hit them on the counter-attack. And we did it once, just before we conceded. We got forward, I think it was Ben Godfrey, and he made a burst and run from the edge of our box to the edge of their box. He tried to flick it through to Doucouré. Doucouré couldn't sort his feet out, and Chelsea broke on the attack. And I remember the commentators saying, this is where Everton have got to be careful here. And one of the commentators, I can't remember which one of the commentators says, that's where Everton's issue is. In that situation, that ball needs to either end up in the back of the net or in row Z. And I don't usually agree with commentators. I don't usually agree with commentators. I think most of the time they chat utter nonsense. And I think yesterday there was a couple of times they chatted utter nonsense as well. But I think on that occasion, they were right. In that situation, it would have been ideal for Everton to have lashed the ball into the roof of the net or into row Z to stop Chelsea's flow. Because as soon as Chelsea picked that ball up and were allowed to counter, we had players out of position. We had The system was all over the place, and they were always going to look to exploit that. As I said, the Corey loses the ball, they come forward, they try and create, and it comes of nothing. But it was almost like a a little warning of that we have to be careful. When breaking down the other end, we have to be careful about what could come back at us. And just as we did, a couple of minutes later, again, we get forward, the Corey's play through, and I actually think, and I love Abdoulaye Doucouré, I do. By the way, if you're enjoying this stream, please hit that like button. 60 people watching. If you could get the likes up to, say, 30, that would be absolutely unbelievable. If you're new to the channel, by the way, don't forget to subscribe. It only takes a second. If you want to become a member, it is only 99p, which is the cheapest I could make it. You can click the join button next to the subscribe button to become a member if you would like. That would be greatly appreciated. But, as I said, the Corey gets played one through, so it's not one-on-one, but with a really, really good chance to play the ball. Gordon screaming for it, doesn't get it out to Gordon. And it's lazy by Abdoulaye Doucouré for me, because not only does he sort of slow his run down massively, and look, Abdoulaye Doucouré has played a ridiculous amount of football in recent weeks, a ridiculous amount of football. He was on a 5th yellow card yesterday, so had he have picked up a yellow card yesterday, it would have meant that he would have been unavailable for, well, the game against Burnley now. It would have been the game against Leicester, but obviously it's the game against Burnley now. So maybe he was just being extra cautious, maybe, but I felt it was lazy. I felt he stopped his run sooner than he should, and I felt his pass to Anthony Gordon was just very lazy. I thought it was just almost like a flick, have it, and as they did a couple of minutes earlier, Chelsea pick it up, they break down the end. I think it's Barkley breaks, up the up the pitch, gets a pass out to Mason Mount. Mason Mount completely runs off Ben Godfrey, who is out of position and at fault for the goal. Let's be honest with you. I do think Abdoulaye Doucouré takes a lot of blame for the goal as well, but ultimately Ben Godfrey was out of his natural position, and Mason Mount gets in behind, and this time he does finish, and all of a sudden it's 1-0 to Chelsea. About 25 minutes to go, half an hour to go, and you're sort of thinking, all of that hard work, we were starting to grow a little bit in confidence. We were starting to get a bit of ahead of ourselves, maybe, in terms of, maybe forgetting the quality that Chelsea possessed. We were clearly frustrating them, because it got to 60, 65 minutes, and you could see they were really starting to get agitated. The crowd started to, start to sing and start to shout. I've never heard such a poor home display since some of the displays at Goodison Park by the fans. They were awful last night, the Chelsea fans. Everton's away fans were absolutely unbelievable, as always. Unbelievable. Loud, constantly shouting, constantly cheering the team on, songs. They were amazing last night. We really have got the best fans in the world, haven't we? But you could tell, as I said, the Chelsea fans were starting to get aggravated. They were starting to get frustrated with their team, and the players were starting to get frustrated as well. They were starting to get a little bit, a little bit frustrated with the fact that they couldn't break this Everton team down. And you could see Thomas Tuchel on the sideline as well, very similarly, almost as if he was thinking, how the fuck haven't we managed to break this side down? And as I said, they do get the goal. Mason Mount runs in behind Ben Godfrey and fires it at Jordan Pickford from close range, and there's nothing that Jordan can do. There's nothing that Jordan can do. We go 1-0 down, and it was at that point I sort of just thought, do you know what? This is going to be a real task to get back into this game. Everton aren't great at scoring goals. We haven't been great at scoring goals recently. It was always going to be a difficult task to get back in, to get back into the game. And even though we'd have played well and we'd have worked hard, and had we have, the game had finished there and we'd have lost 1-0, I'd have said it wasn't the worst performance, I still wouldn't have been happy. I'll never be happy losing a game of football. I'll never be happy, sitting here and saying, yeah, we lost, but we were boss today. I'll never be happy losing a game. So we had to go out and get an equaliser. And as I said, again, Everton are really weird, This Everton team and squad are really strange. Some weeks, in situations like that, players' heads drop, and it's sort of just like, oh, well, we're out of this now, so there's no point. And then we go and concede a further, 2, 3, 4 goals. And other weeks, we go, no, do you know what? We're going to get back into this game, and heads rise, and we actually start to, go and create chances and get forward and show that little bit of confidence. And that's what we did. Again, we put the pressure on Chelsea. Jean-Philippe Gbamin had come on for Andre Gomez at this point, and whilst I don't think Jean-Philippe Gbamin individually was particularly great or done anything massively of note, I think that changed to bring him on for Gomez and to give Gomez a rest who wasn't really doing much at this point other than walking around, and bring a fresh pair of legs on. I actually think there was a couple of times when Gbamin got the ball and used his physicality, used his structure, his physical presence to shield the ball and to get on the right side of it and win it back. He come on, obviously Lewis Dobbin come on for Ellis Simms and was brilliant, running around, working hard, forcing Chelsea into making, defensive, forcing them into making defensive decisions quicker than what they were previous. And Chelsea were nullified going forward then. They didn't really create much after that. We always had to be skeptical of them on the break. They always had that quality on the break to hurt us. But it seemed like Everton were the team that were pushing. It seemed like Everton were the team that were looking the more likely to go and get something out the game. We get a free kick on the edge of the box. Anthony Gordon steps forward. Anthony Gordon swings an absolute unbelievable ball, and I'm talking an absolute world class cross into the box. And who's on the end of it? Jarrad fucking Branthwaite. What a player. What a player Jarrad Branthwaite is, by the way. As I said earlier on in the stream, if you watch this goal again, at first view, you could maybe say, oh yeah, it was a ball into the back post and he got on the end of it. He actually gambles at this ball a lot earlier than you would have expected. When the ball is sort of just getting into the crowd of players, bearing in mind Jarrad Branthwaite's on the far side of that crowd of players, he's diving at it already. He throws himself at it with this mad sort of karate kick move, and he gets a touch on it, and it's a wonderful, wonderful goal. First of all, the ball by Anthony Gordon is absolutely, it's just magnificent, isn't it? Magnificent. Anthony Gordon spoke recently in the news and in the media and to Everton about, enjoying his football at the moment and working hard, but understanding the need to start producing, understanding the need to, have that final product, whether it be goals, whether it be assists. He understands that he can't just run around and work hard and think that that's good enough to stay in this team. He needs to produce, and he did. It was a wonderful ball, an absolutely wonderful ball, a ball that you would applaud Kevin De Bruyne for putting in, or anybody else of that ilk putting into the box. And Jarrad Branthwaite, as I said, he gambles on it. And that's the most important. He doesn't let it go over him and think, that's going out that. Or he doesn't look and think, that's a bit further away. He gambles on it. He throws himself at it and he thinks, if it hits me, it's going in. If it doesn't hit me, then it doesn't hit me. And it does. He gets a foot on it. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, it's 1-1. And you're thinking, right, hold out now. Get something out the game. Hold out. We had chances to win the game. Obviously, with the Alex Iwobi chance. Obviously, Chelsea had loads of chances to win the game in the first half and to put it well past Everton, but they didn't take them. It was all for that last 15-20 minutes about holding it out then. Not making any silly mistakes, shoring the game up. The manager obviously brought on Tyler Onyango for Anthony Gordon a little bit later on in the game. And Chelsea, again, evidently, wanted the win. They were never going to be happy with the draw. They come forward. They tried to put the pressure on us. They tried to create a second chance. They had a corner. Thiago Silva gets on the end of it and makes an absolutely unbelievable save, proving why, again, it was a 10 out of 10 performance by Jordan Pickford. And they have a couple of other half chances after that. Jordan does really well at time wasting. I thought Anthony Gordon was really, really good at winning free kicks yesterday. It's something I mentioned in the instant match reaction. There was a number of occasions where he picked the ball up and he sort of had a little look round him, and it was almost as if to say, there's nobody around me here, so I'm just going to have to get anything out of this situation that I can. And by doing that, he threw himself on the floor. He won free kicks, and it was a really clever, mature performance by Anthony Gordon. It was almost as if he'd taken the responsibility of being the senior player in the team. It was almost like he'd felt that the expectation of being the young player had sort of gone away because there was much younger players on the pitch, i.e. Lewis Dobbin, Ellis Simms, Jarrad Branthwaite, etc. And he'd almost felt like one of the senior players, as if he wanted that responsibility and he liked that responsibility. It was his best game in an Everton shirt by far yesterday. And yeah, Chelsea continued to throw, chances at us, but we defended them really, really well. As I mentioned, Jarrad Branthwaite was unbelievable again. Ben Godfrey, fantastic. Mason Holgate had calmed down an awful lot in the second half, really good. Michael Keane, really good. And we sorted it out, and we managed to get a point. And as I said, considering we all sat here an hour before the game, and even, you know, on Wednesday, or a day before the game, saying highly doubt we'll get anything out of this game. What a performance that was, and what a result, and what a display by those young lads. Jarrad Branthwaite, Anthony Gordon, Ellis Simms, Lewis Dobbin, Tyler Onyango. Even though he didn't have an awful lot to do, he come on and he filled the space and he stayed with his man. And John Joe Kenny, to be fair, I think John Joe Kenny deserves a special shout out, and I think he deserves a lot of credit, because a lot of people wrote John Joe Kenny off, and I'm not sitting here saying John Joe Kenny is, you know, our next right back, or he should be in week out now after one good performance. I'm not saying that by any stretch of the imagination, but you've got to give credit where credit's due to players. And John Joe Kenny stepped in yesterday with everybody feeling like he was nowhere near good enough, and he'd be a disappointment, and he put in a really good performance. Defensively, he was solid. You could see him organising the team. Everything that he had to deal with, he dealt with defensively. Going forward, yes, he wasn't great, but he's not great going forward. And as I said, not saying that, oh my God, he's unbelievable, get him in every week, but to go away to Chelsea, that Chelsea team, and to perform like John Joe did, and like, you know, the other young lads did, and the more experienced players, Jordan Pickford, 10 out of 10, unbelievable. Ben Godfrey, other than the goal, fantastic. Michael Keane, really solid performance. It was just brilliant. It was absolutely fantastic. I'm over the moon. We don't play now till Boxing Day, so there's a nice 10 days rest for the players to recover and recuperate, and hopefully get some players back from injury. But I would be extremely disappointed if we don't see the likes of Jarrad Branthwaite, Ellis Simms, Lewis Dobbin involved, even John Joe, but again, we'll wait and see, involved against Burnley on Boxing Day. I'm sure Anthony Gordon will be, but it was a really, really good performance. It was an underdog's performance, and that's what Everton are best at doing, being the underdogs. If you are enjoying it, by the way, so far, please hit that like button. It only takes a second of you. Don't forget to subscribe. If you could get to 30 likes, that'd be great. Let's get back into the live comments before we do finish up then. Crimson says the lad gets slated for being at the club, but it's up to him. He knows Coleman is near the end and can fill his shoes. Well, again, I was just always of the view that he wasn't good enough. And listen, you know, not saying that everything changes with one game. It doesn't, of course it doesn't. But he put in a really, really good performance yesterday, John Joe Kenny. He did. Jem says we should see Branthwaite again before any of the other young lads, in my opinion. Branthwaite was amazing yesterday. Branthwaite was amazing yesterday. He was absolutely fantastic. He really, really was. Guests till like links. I guess till. Says Wormy, interesting. You can say, do you think the Premier League will be cancelled? I think it'll be postponed. If anything, I don't think it'll be cancelled. Godfrey, Keane, Branthwaite and Mikalenko, not bad, says Peter. Aditya says Luis Campos, Lille and Monchi Sevilla, directors of football options, boost quality. I would love both, but I don't think either will come. Jem says agree on the manager not going anywhere soon. I think Mercedes 100% on board with signing him for the job. Yeah, I agree. Jem says Eugene, I think they'll stop people from attending before season the league completely, or restricting the numbers of attendance. They will stop fans attending before they postpone the league, but fans attending doesn't have anything to do with players and staff members of football clubs having COVID outbreaks, which is what we're seeing in a number of occasions throughout the league. EFCS says Branthwaite made third place Ballon d'Or, have to drop him. I can't pronounce that name, but H says hello, happy holidays to all Everton fans. Thank you very much. Jem says, I think you don't know how that's spelt. I just think his decision making isn't very good, if I'm being honest. Crimson says, happening, Cam, hope you're doing alright. What's happening, mate? I'm not too bad, hope you're doing well. Jem says, happy holidays to you too. Crimson says, it'll be interesting to see if the man behind you leaves in January. Which one? Luca Dean? I think we're more than likely going to see him leave, if I'm being honest with you. And that means I'm going to have to get a new background, aren't I? Which isn't ideal because, you know, I like this one, but there you go. It is what it is. I don't want him to leave, by the way, but I think there's certainly something going on there which is leading that conclusion to be the case. Crimson says live. Thank you, my mate. Jem says, I thought Simms was great as well. Nice flick-ons and held up the ball well. Yeah, I agree. Crimson says Simms looked like the real back of Dom. He looked similar to Dom, and I'm not saying he's as good or anything like that, but you could see the similar sort of style of play to Dominic Calvert-Lewin from Ellis Simms. I can see where you're coming from there. David says 13 wins to Europe. James says, it's right, Cam, he was one of them divs, like you say. Yeah, we got a bit lucky in the first half that they didn't score more. The second half, they were poor. Yeah, I agree. Quancam says David. Jem says Defo Crimson, he was good. Jem says I thought we defended really well first half. Everyone was cool. As for us, Pickford, Keane, Branthwaite, Godfrey, Boss, all of them. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I agree. Football is not only about entertainment, it's mostly getting results. It's all about getting results for your team. You know, if I let's say, and again, I don't think there's any games today, but let's say Burnley were playing Manchester City today at the Etihad, and Burnley threw 11 men behind the ball for the entire game, and it was the most boring game of football, but Burnley got a point out of it. I wouldn't feel the need to go on social media and go, I am disgraced, this was an awful performance by Burnley, this, that and the other, why didn't he let Manchester City put 8 past them? I'd go, do you know what, fair play to Burnley there, they deserve that point, and it's an amazing point for them. And anybody that likes football for what football should be liked for will understand that, and if you don't, go and watch fucking Sky Movies or something. Calm your boss, lad, says AFC Graphic. Mario says, good day, mate. Thank you very much, Mario. Peter says, calm down. Jem says, haha. Pickford showed Ramsdale levels. Pickford showed why he's England's number one by a long stretch. Levels, he hasn't got to yet, says Jem. Branthwaite should be prime. Bears in levels, says David. Is Tom David? David's injured. He is. He certainly is. A lot of conversation about KFC going on here. David says 99p out for the Mighty Blue Mafia. Mighty Blues making a fun. Thank you very much, my mate. Thank you very much. Apparently, Mr. Football News says City are a bigger club than Everton. I think if you asked most footballing fans that, they would disagree, but there you go. Crimson says all the floodgates would open, but their heads didn't drop. Yeah, I agree. Everton to Europe, says David. Gordon balls learning off Prime Beck, says David. Oh, it was amazing. It was an absolutely amazing ball into the box. Hernandez says, what's the streaming schedule look like for the next week as a holiday week? Well, I'm off work next week, actually. So we'll have a stream on Monday. Not too sure what the topic will be yet, obviously, because we don't play on Sunday now, but we'll have a stream on Monday. We will have a stream on Wednesday, likely. And then Thursday will likely be the preview to the game against Burnley on Boxing Day. Friday, Christmas Eve, and Christmas Day, Saturday or Sunday, obviously. Sunday, there'll be the instant match reaction and the play ratings to Burnley. But Friday and Saturday, there won't be a stream. But I'll try and get one out Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Feed the Manx has said 1995. Nice one for joining an Everton scene, mate. Don't know why you're here, but nice one. Stephen says, how bad did Ross Barkley look yesterday? He just wasn't really involved in the game, was he? He just wasn't really involved. So are you upset Cam Rafa out now on the back burner? Listen, I don't think Rafa Benitez should be at the club, but that doesn't mean I'm not going to sit here and talk about what was a great result yesterday. And where are we? David says, anyway, that'll do it for the stream. Hit the likes and subscribe to pay for Micah. And Ananda says, ask Leeds how playing attacking football against the big teams happen for them. They are getting terrible results because of it. Now Bielsa isn't looking like such a genius. Exactly. And how many pundits sat there and said, Leeds are amazing. Oh, look at how brave Leeds are for playing attacking football against City. Yeah, but they've just lost 45-0. And they're in a dangerous relegation battle. It's not always about playing attacking football and the neutral being entertained. It's about doing what you can to get results at the end of the day. Anyway, look, we're going to finish it up there. Then if you have enjoyed this one, please do hit that like button. As I said, an absolutely fantastic result for Everton. Given the circumstances, given the squad, given the team yesterday, an absolutely unbelievable result and an unbelievable performance for the Blues. Proud to be a toffee today, and hopefully we can continue this. Let's just have a bit of luck now. Let's just have a bit of good fortune. Go and beat Burnley. Don't go and lose to Burnley. So we're at square one like we were when we lost to Palace and like we were before the Arsenal game. Go and beat Burnley and let's get a bit of momentum. Let's get a bit of confidence. If you have enjoyed this one, please do hit that like button. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe as well. Yeah. As I said, really do appreciate all of the support. Big thanks to everybody for watching as a live stream. Really appreciate it. If you're watching a YouTube video, get your thoughts down below and we'll get involved with as many of them as we possibly can. We'll be back on Monday. As I said before, there's a couple of other videos you can check out. One talking about the postponement of the Leicester game and another talking about the Luca Dean situation and what's going on with that. So please do check them out. Big thanks for watching. Leave a like if you've enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Wayme says, see you guys, thank you. And Eugene says, see you buy up the toffees. Thank you very much. Peter says, adios amigos. It's right. Big thanks for watching. Leave a like if you've enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. And we'll see you soon.